Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast for April 17th, Wednesday. We're doing the MLS, Major League Soccer, every game on the board with Nick Borrman. Nick, welcome into the podcast. How you doing?
Hey, Drew. I'm doing well, man. Just stoked that Tiger's back and walked off Sunday with the green jacket, man. That's awesome to see.
Yeah, for sure, man. That was really cool just to see him go through that much time and finally win the Masters. We'll have some golf talk coming up at the end of the MLS segment here. And Nick is our golf and soccer handicapper, and we're doing Major League Soccer, every game on the board, but he also does Champions League and a couple other European leagues. So check him out at sportsmemo.com. But let's get right into this. Top of the board here, Houston at LA Galaxy. Galaxy minus 0.75, total of 3, Nick. There's just 3 Friday games, this being maybe the premier game. I'm not really sure. You know it better than me, but how are you looking to bet Houston, LA Galaxy?
Yeah, right. The Galaxy, they're playing well. They have 4 straight wins and 2 straight clean sheets right now. They struggled mightily last year on defense, so there's a lot to like right now for them on the defensive side of the ball. They're expected to debut their new signing from Italy, center back Giancarlo Gonzalez, this week. So he's a good, solid player who's even going to further improve their back line. So there's definitely a lot of excitement in LA for both MLS teams. LAFC, who we'll talk about later, they look like the best team in the league right now, while the Galaxy really aren't too far behind. So a lot of excitement there for Major League Soccer. Houston is probably the best team no one is really talking about right now. They've yet to lose this season with 4 wins and 1 draw, and this is after failing to make the playoffs last year. However, I'm a little on the fence so far, as their wins have come over Montreal, Vancouver, Colorado, and San Jose, which is not exactly the cream of the crop in the MLS. So a little on the fence with these guys. But this is a tough one. I mean, both teams are playing really well. The line at minus 0.75 doesn't give a ton of value. I would make a play on the Galaxy, though, at home. I think they probably going to end up winning this game. But because the line's at that 3/4 goal number, if they only win by 1 goal, you're only winning half your wager. And I don't necessarily see them blowing out Houston. So not a ton of value here. I would recommend the Galaxy, but I wouldn't throw a lot at this one just because the value is not great, and they're around minus 140 on the money line. I think that's a little too high for my liking. So I like the Galaxy here, but I would probably keep this one on the lighter side.
All right, good stuff, Nick. And the next game up, we got Minnesota at Toronto. Heading north of the border here with Toronto minus 0.75, total of 3. And this is actually Nick's top play this week on Friday night. It's a 5%er in MLS, top total, and it's for $30 at sportsmemo.com. And check it out. He's been on a great run with totals, hitting 67% in the last 7 weeks, also 59% lifetime, so has a beat on these totals. He has a top rating on this total. We can only go as high as 5%. He did it here with this play on Friday night. MLS 5% top total for $30 at sportsmemo.com. But with the coupon code from this podcast, MLS9 at checkout for this Friday night MLS 5% top total, you can get it for just $9 with the coupon code MLS9 at checkout. Minnesota at Toronto Friday night. We got one other Friday night game here, Nick. Real Salt Lake at Cincinnati. I believe you're supposed to say Real, so I will, unless it's MLS. Do they say Real or Real?
Yeah, man, Real. You got to sound the part there. Real. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Real Salt Lake at Cincinnati. Cincinnati minus a half a goal, total at 2.75.
Yeah, as I've said in our previous podcast covering the MLS so far, it's a little too early for me to take really any Cincy games, as I'm still really gathering data on them, as this is their first season in the MLS. But quick look at this. There does appear to be some value here on the under. I was looking, at their stats so far this year, and since these games, they're averaging almost 2 full shots on goal less than the league average, which is 20% less than the league average. So in terms of soccer, that's a big deal when you're talking about scoring 2 or 3 goals a game. To have 20% less attempts can translate pretty quickly into a full goal. So I think there is some value here on the under. 5 of their 7 games have stayed under this total already this year. And for Salt Lake, in the 4 games that they have kept all 11 players on the field, because 3 of their games they've actually had players get red cards. So in the 4 other games, 3 of those have stayed under this total. So, assuming we can see all 11 guys stay on the field for the game, I like the chances here for this one to go under the total. And if it does go over, I'd be very surprised to see more than 3 goals. So at 2.75, you're talking about, in my mind, a half wager risk to win a full wager here. So I do like the under in this one, Drew.
And Nick, so there's 3 Friday games and then the rest are on Saturday, or is there some Sunday games too?
There is 1 Sunday game, I believe. No, excuse me, 2 Sunday games. So still Saturday heavy slate, but 2 on Sunday this week as well.
And what's the best way for the listeners to watch all these games?
They have them. A lot of them are on Fox Sports 1. The Sunday night games are usually on ESPN, sometimes ESPN 2. And then the Monday night game, they usually have ESPN 2, or excuse me, Friday night game on ESPN 2 as well. But Fox Sports 1's another good one to catch them on. But otherwise, any cable provider here in the States, if you want to watch all the games, just like NFL or whatever, you're going to have to get their there's an MLS specific channel. You just have to get that, like the MLB Network or anything else. But they usually have at least 2, if not 3 games nationally televised each weekend.
Okay. And next game up, we got Colorado at Chicago. Chicago minus 0.75, total of 2.75.
Yeah, I still believe the Chicago team is going to come alive at some point, but they just continue to come up short in getting results. They have just 1 win this year so far with 3 draws and 2 losses, but statistically are actually one of the better teams in the league. They dominated Vancouver last weekend with 60% possession, 23 goal attempts, and 6 on goal, while holding the Whitecaps to just 9 attempts and 2 on goal, so big disparity there. Yet they were only able to draw, and they actually needed a late penalty just to be able to do so in the last 10 minutes of the game. So it's kind of frustrating to watch that they're playing very well, and they've had some tough results and just can't get that win. Colorado, they're to be as expected. They were really bad last year, and so far this year they look the same. They're winless so far this year through 7 games. They have just 2 draws and 5 losses, and they've conceded 19 goals already this year, which was, their problem last year defensively as well. Because of that, 5 of their games have gone over this total already, and for Chicago, 3 of their 6 have gone over for the Fire. I think if Chicago's ever going to finally get some goals and really get another win this season, I think this is the game to do it at home against Colorado, who just can't keep anyone from scoring. So this is a rare one. I like both the side and the total here. I think Chicago at home will finally get on the board several times in this game and be able to win. I like their chances of scoring and covering this total. So I see like a 3-1 possible win for Chicago, and I think that's the way this one's going to go.
All right, we got Montreal heading to Philadelphia up next. Philadelphia minus 0.75, total of 2.75.
Not sure the number is justified here for Philly to be favored by this number. I mean, they were on a 3-game win streak before losing 0-2 at the Galaxy last week, but Montreal is a tough team and have now kept 3 straight clean sheets after that 1-7 beatdown at Kansas City at the end of March. They are already road tested, though. They played 6 games away from home, and they do have solid draws at New York City and D.C. United, although D.C. was without Wayne Rooney in that game. But they can play scrappy enough to keep a lot of games close. If Philly is to win this game, it's probably not going to be by more than a goal. So it's another situation here. I kind of like it where you're probably looking at a half wager risk to win a full wager. So I think the Impact can come away with a point in this one with a draw, Drew. So I like them getting plus 0.75 in this one.
All right, Nick, good stuff. And next game up is Vancouver at Orlando. Orlando minus a goal and a total of 3. Nick actually has a free play up at sportsmemo.com on this one. And just to read a little quip here, Vancouver has yet to earn a win this year with 2 draws and 4 losses so far, but only one of these losses was by more than 1 goal. They drew at Chicago last weekend, drew against Seattle, and lost by a single goal to Houston, all of which are better than this Orlando team. I had this game pegged as Orlando minus a half a goal, so obviously some great value there on this Vancouver team plus a goal. And with full analysis up at sportsmemo.com, if you're checking out his 5%er, using the coupon code MLS9, you can get that for just $9 at sportsmemo.com and read this full analysis on Vancouver at Orlando at sportsmemo.com. He has his official free play up there. And feel free to read all of the analysis there at sportsmemo.com. We got Dallas at Atlanta up next, Nick. Atlanta minus 0.75 at home in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Good atmosphere there usually. I haven't seen any of their games, or I saw one early, but I know the United hasn't been very good this year. But I'm not sure on the atmosphere there, Nick. Maybe you can touch on that. And a total of 2.75.
Yeah, the fans are still excited about the team. Obviously, they're the reigning MLS Cup champions, so there's still a lot of excitement around them. They're still filling that stadium up pretty well for each game. And you hit the nail on the head there with saying they have not really performed well so far this year, but they finally did get in the win column last week, as I predicted it during our podcast. And I think that's the jump start that they're going to need to finally get going. They outplayed New England throughout that entire match, and they finally looked like they were getting used to their new manager, Frank DeBoer's tactical changes, who has them not kind of sitting back more this year, not pressing as high as they did like last season. So, anytime you're changing basically the way you play, it takes some time and some game minutes for sure to start to get those changes down. And they look good last week. Dallas has been solid to start the year. They have 4 wins, a draw, and 2 losses this year, but they lost 2 of the 3 road games at Columbus and at Philadelphia. They rebounded last week with a 2-1 win over Portland, who look like the worst team in the league right now, but they really didn't outplay the Timbers in that game, and that game could have really gone either way. So I like Atlanta to get back-to-back wins here. I don't necessarily see them winning by more than 1 goal, though, so there's not a ton of value at minus 0.75 and at around minus 140 on the money line. I think it's a little steep. Personally, I won't be putting any money on this one, Drew. But, if you need some action on this game, I would take Atlanta here, and I really don't have much opinion on the total. I think that one's set kind of right on the money. So Atlanta's likely to win this one, but not a ton of value here in this line.
I like the way you put that. If you need some action on it, go with United. We got Portland at Columbus up next. Columbus minus 0.75 and a higher total here, a total of 3.
Yeah, not many games you're going to see Columbus with a total this high. But I guess the odds makers are all over Portland's terrible defense to start this year. The Timbers have conceded 17 goals in 6 games already this season and have only netted 6 for themselves so far. All 6 of their matches have reached at least 3 goals scored, but I think this is the first match that will fail to reach that number. Columbus has only had 1 game reach 3 goals scored. None have gone over the total. They had a 0-3 loss at Philly was that game. Otherwise, their other 6 games have all stayed under this total, mostly thanks to their world-class keeper, Zach Steffen, who, unfortunately for them, is leaving for Manchester City this summer as he's on transfer to leave. And they also really don't have great goal scorers up front, and often they win 1-0, sometimes 2-0 games because they don't score a ton, and their keeper just saves everything. So even with Portland playing terrible on defense so far this year, I see very little chance that this game goes over the total. At worst, I think it might push at 3. So I like the under here. A lot of chances that we see this stay under the total.
All right, Nick, we got the New York Red Bulls at New England. A pick'em here, total at 2.75. Is this a rivalry here, New York versus New England? Are they in Boston or Foxborough?
Yes, they are. No, not really. I guess it's just New England's never really, I would go back, I don't know, about 8-10 years ago. They were good then, but over the last several years, they just haven't been real good. They haven't been very competitive. The Red Bulls are newer to the league, so there's not a huge history here, not a lot of rivalry in this particular one, even though they're close. But in this particular game, I think you have to go with the Red Bulls here at this price with nothing to lose on the draw. At the pick'em price, there's very little chance in my mind that they're probably going to go into New England and lose this one. They're definitely the better team on paper anyway. They're almost the same team that won the Supporters' Shield last year, minus Tyler Adams, who's a young American player on the national team for us. He left for Germany. Yet they've struggled out of the gate with just 1 win and 2 draws to go along with 3 losses this year. They should have won last week at Kansas City, but they let up a late goal and had to settle for a draw, which is alarming for the team. I mean, last year they were so good at being able to protect leads, and they set the MLS record for the most points in regular season MLS history. So surprising to see them start the way they have. Like I said, their team is not much different, minus one player from last year. New England, they look very bad right now. They've lost 3 of their 4 home games, which is a sign of a very long season, especially in the MLS. We've talked about it before, how MLS is very home-driven. I mean, home teams often win the games. You often see them favored. So not a good sign that they're already losing 3 of their 4 home games. They have just 5 goals scored so far in 7 games and have been held scoreless 4 times already. They just look lazy on offense. They're not moving. The players aren't moving. The ball isn't moving when they have it. And there's just no way I could recommend to put any money behind them right now. If the Red Bulls were favored by anything here, and the line may move that way, I would probably pass on this one. But right now on the two-way line or pick 'em price, I think New York is worth a few bucks here.
All right, Nick. We got Kansas City minus a half a goal on the road here. I believe this is the first time I have seen a favorite in our podcast that is the road team. Don't quote me on that, but it does not happen very often, I can tell you that. Kansas City minus a half a goal at San Jose, total of 3.
There have been a few to hit on that comment. There have been a few this year, but this is the only one this weekend, the only road favorite this weekend. So you're all right. There are not many times it happens. But it's just a testament to how bad San Jose is. Granted, they earned their first win of the year 2 weeks ago, playing against Portland, but they followed that up with a loss last week at Houston. However, they did look better in that game, and over the last 2 weeks, they have looked like they are improving, which is, good for Southern California to maybe have something to cheer about. But somebody's got to be the worst team out that way, and with both LA teams playing very well, I guess, you're okay with one of the teams stinking, which is them right now. But even though they're looking a little bit better the last couple of weeks, I'm still not comfortable putting any money behind them right now. Instead, I like the over here. All of their matches, San Jose's matches, have reached at least 3 goals scored this season. And Kansas City, no doubt, has some tired legs. And they were the last surviving team in the CONCACAF Champions League, were ousted last weekend in the semifinals. And they've played 12 competitive games already this season, compared to, for San Jose, for example, has only played 6. So what usually happens when you get tired legs is you have a leaky defense. I know that's true in a lot of sports, but the MLS is no different. So I see that this game has a lot of chances going both ways. San Jose concedes like nobody else does already, and the fact that Kansas City could have some tired legs coming into this game, I like the chances here that we're going to see this total go over.
And Nick, you bring up the CONCACAF Champions League. Is it over now, or what? It's just all these?
No. They're the finals now. So MLS is out. Kansas City was the only team that made it to the semifinals.
Okay.
They are out. Monterrey beat them. They scored 5 goals in each game against them, so they beat them soundly.
And Veracruz plays on Friday, right?
Actually, I don't know. Is that?
I believe it's Monterrey versus Veracruz.
Okay. So yeah. So now that MLS is out, I haven't been paying attention to it. But no, it's I believe it's going this week. But like I said, we talked about it before. MLS never has performed well in this tournament. So Mexico always has dominated this one.
Okay, and with the CONCACAF Champions League, it's just U.S. and Mexico, or is there some Central Americans too?
No, it's all Central America. So there's other teams from Costa Rica, from any other countries down in Central America that support. You generally it tends to be a Mexican team that ends up winning because they have the stronger league. But no, there's other teams definitely that play in the competition. Cool.
Well, we got New York City Football Club at DC United. DC United minus a half a goal, total of 3.
Yeah, New York probably should have gotten their first win of the year last week at Minnesota. But no doubt the worst goalkeeping gaffe of the year happened in that game. And if you haven't seen it, you should go to YouTube, check it out. Their keeper, Sean Johnson, allowed Minnesota to earn a draw in that game. I mean, the ball was basically tapped back to him, and I can't even explain what he was trying to do. Just imagine a soccer ball rolling at you about 2 miles an hour and letting it go by you and into your own goal, and that's what happened. They just can't earn a win this year. They have 5 draws already on the year with 1 loss, so no wins, as I mentioned. And granted, they did finally score 3 goals against Minnesota. which was a welcome sight after they had 2 straight scoreless matches. And we've talked about it before. They're just offensively not the same team after they lost their 2 big playmakers from last year. So it was good to see them get 3 goals here against Minnesota last week. DC, they earned a nice road win at Colorado last week to bounce back from their scoreless draw against Montreal the week prior. But that game against Montreal, Wayne Rooney didn't play as he was suspended from a red card. So when he's in the lineup, they're a completely different team, and he's back in the lineup for this game. These teams already played once this season, which was a scoreless draw in New York. But if you watch that game, or if you look into the numbers there, New York was the much better team in that game. And all night long, they were peppering DC's goal with shots. And I don't know how they didn't get one in and how they didn't win that game. I don't think we'll see the same game here in DC. They're really, really good at home. But this one's tough to call. I could see DC winning. Or New York scraping together with a point on a draw. I don't see New York necessarily winning, but I'm stuck between DC and a possible draw here. So on this one, I'm going to keep my money in my pocket. I can't really make a good recommendation on the side on this one, and I think the total's set properly. So no recommendation here on this one, Drew. All
right, we're talking with Nick Borrman, our MLS expert handicapper on Twitter at Borman00. He's got his Friday night MLS 5% top total up at sportsmemo.com, and with the coupon code MLS9 at checkout, you can get it for just $9. That's a huge savings with the podcast coupon code. Thank you for listening. And that is his Friday night MLS 5% top total for just $9 with the coupon code MLS9 at checkout. One game left here. Seattle at Los Angeles Football Club. LAFC minus 0.75 home favorites. Total of 2.75, Nick.
Yeah, I can't wait for this one, Drew. I've said it a couple times already, but this is definitely the game of the year so far. Both teams are 2 of only 3 remaining unbeaten teams in the league. This is the first time Seattle is not a favorite. These teams have been playing great all year, but I have to give the edge to LAFC at home and how good they've looked this season. They've beaten good teams. They beat DC, they beat Kansas City, they beat New York City, they beat Salt Lake. They're all strong playoff teams from last year. And they have the early player of the year candidate in Carlos Vela, who scored again last week and now has 8 goals in 7 matches already. They look tough to beat. Meanwhile, Seattle, they've also been impressive. They're coming off a big 3-2 win against Toronto last week, who Toronto has been playing well as well, was previously unbeaten until that game. They haven't had as tough of a schedule as LAFC, and they've only played 2 road games. One of those was a 4-2 win at Chicago, and the other a scoreless draw at Vancouver. So, another reason I give the edge to LAFC here in this one is just Seattle hasn't quite been as tested. But again, at this number, minus 0.75, it's 1 goal victory for LAFC. I can see more than that. I don't know. So instead, I like the over here. LAFC has scored at least 2 goals in every match this season, while Seattle has scored in every game except that scoreless draw at Vancouver I mentioned. Both teams are very solid offensively and have guys that will make you pay on any mistake. So even if there's not a ton of chances in this game, which I think there'll be a decent amount, the teams can get the ball in the net. They only need 1 chance and they'll be able to score. They have some of the best playmakers in the league on both of these sides. So I like the over here in the game of the week, Drew. At 2.75, we'll cash the bet even if only 3 goals are scored. At least you get a half unit weight win. So I like the over here, Drew.
All right, Nick, good stuff, man. You're 49-27, 64% all best bets since February 3rd, 46-23. That's 67% all totals since February 26th. He's been good with his best bet totals as well in soccer, and he's got one Friday night, MLS 5% top total going. That's on Friday night here in the MLS for just $9 with the coupon code MLS9 at checkout. Nick, just real quick, in closing, I know you're handicapping golf as well, man. Heck of a Masters with what Tiger was able to pull off. Where are we at in the golf schedule as far as what's next on the board as far as tournaments go, and what are your overall thoughts on the Masters finish?
Well, to answer the first question there, this week is the RBC Heritage. They play down in Hilton Head, South Carolina. So a lot of the big names you'll see take off this week after the Masters. So it'll be still a big field, the normal 140 player field with a cut, but you won't see a lot of the biggest names out there this week. But the Masters, absolutely awesome. I'm so happy Tiger won. I'm a huge fan of his. No matter all the stuff that happened to him over the last 8 years with off the course incidents and all the injuries he's had, but it's hard to argue his talents, what he's done to change the game, change the competition. If you saw some player interviews and stuff, both before and after, and talking to other players on the tour over the years, most of the guys that are playing, like your Brooks Koepka, your Ricky Fowlers, all these young guys that are capable of winning and are winning, are on tour because Tiger made it cool. So, it's cool to see the generational effect happening here, where people always wondered, if Tiger gets back to his prime and is playing well, will these newer guys, be able to compete? Will Tiger just, dominate? And I think the answer is no, he probably won't dominate, but it's cool to see that he's able to come back, win, compete. It's a different effect. It's just a different game when he's out there. I saw an awesome picture on Twitter. Somebody posted of they were in an airport. I forget which one, and they just their hashtag or their comment was the Tiger effect. And the picture was literally everybody in the airport was on their feet, standing, watching the TV. And I'm guessing a lot of those people were not golfers, but it just shows that you don't have to be a golfer to appreciate what he does, and it's good for the sport. It's good for the game, and I love it. I don't know. Did you catch any of the Masters? Are you watching it?
Oh, absolutely, man. I would be kind of a fan, just kind of wanting to watch the Masters, but no, there's no doubt he took it to the next level for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of people out there, as far as what he's able to do for the sport. Everybody's talking about it, like group texts and just friends, like everybody's in it when he's in it. So it's a really good thing. You're right on. It's good for the sport. How would you look to handicap him, Tiger Woods, going forward? Would you say that, obviously the market is going to react to this, and he's going to, have a price tag next to him, so to speak? Would you look to fade him, or how would you look to go?
Well, I'll be honest. Over much of last year and even the beginning of this year, I was fading him quite a bit. I think he was, his comeback. You could see that he was playing well, but he wasn't quite getting the results, wasn't quite getting over the hump, wasn't quite getting the wins. And, there was a lot of value because he's still the Tiger Woods name. So even when he was making his comeback, I think, he was priced a little bit too high. And I was actually on Tiger this week. I had one of my head-to-head picks was on Tiger this week. So obviously glad that won. So I think, as you said it, you're going to see the numbers even more so now that he's won start to go in his favor even more. And, yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of value going against him. As much value as there is going to be going against him, it might be hard to pull the trigger just because, he's as good as anyone out there, and he's playing very, very well right now. And he's just got, there's something about, you'll see some of the big names just have a bad week one week and completely fall out of contention and just kind of completely be forgotten. But he's a guy that, even when he's not playing well, can still somehow show up at the end of the week and be, top 10, top 20. And they didn't, of course they're talking about him all week because he's Tiger, but he wasn't really a factor yet at the end of the tournament. He still somehow scraped together and finished pretty close to the lead. So it's going to be hard to go against him. I think there will be a ton of value in him. I wish I could go back, early 2000s. I certainly wasn't betting golf back then, but I wonder what those lines used to look like when he was winning. He was winning 33% of the tournaments he was entering. I wonder what those type of lines were looking like and what kind of value you would get on fading him back then. I doubt it'll be anywhere near that, but I've always wondered that. And haven't been able to find that information. But I think there might be some value going forward. We'll see, though, as we go forward for the next few weeks.
All right, Nick, good stuff. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Soccer and little Masters talk there at the end. Remember the coupon code MLS9 at checkout for Nick's 5% top total in the MLS. He's been good with totals, and you can get it for just $9 at sportsmemo.com. We'll be back tomorrow with Teddy Covers breaking down some MLB and NBA. Thanks for tuning in. Best of luck with your bets.